place to can get to in life where having two vertebrae replaced.
I look at it this way, Mateo. They told me when I was in my early 20s that I'd never walk again.
Really?
Yeah, I was completely paralyzed, well, from chest down. So for them to say you'll never walk again, for now I went another almost 45 to 50 years of activity, I'm fine with it. If there's a day that I end up in a wheelchair, I'm okay with that too.
You seems like you have defied odds.
I have, for sure. For sure. I've said this to you a million times. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react when something happens to you. The thing that I've never had patience for is that person that has something happen to them, then they just curl up in a ball and give up on life. I just don't have patience for people like that. There's so many better ways of handling things. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense because it's a very easy choice to make.
It is, because I can remember when I was in that situation and I'm laying there at Yonkers Rehabilitation, and every night people would cry themselves to sleep, and it was, oh, woe is me. And I learned that minute I'm not going to be that person. There's this guy named Charles in my room, and he was older. I was in my 20s. He was probably 40 something. Every night he'd cry, but I don't blame him. He was married, had a couple little kids, all this, going on. And I don't blame him he was a farmer, so he's thinking, I'll never be able to farm. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not. And I laid in the bed and listened to him talk to his wife, and not just him, but all the guys in the room. And I thought, this guy's given up, and he's not thinking about what can I do to try and still function. Just like you doing this podcast, right? You can sure be productive and help other people.
And that type of thinking, what can I do to be productive? What can I do to contribute? And
Right.
What can I do that will give meaning to all this?
Right.
That and answers to those questions are not easy to come by.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
You lay there and your first reaction is to feel sorry for yourself and think, why me? So I had to lay there forever and think, I'm not going to be Charles. I'm not going to be that guy, no matter what happens to me. If I'm going to be in a wheelchair, so be it. But I'm going to find something that I can do and that I can be good at in a wheelchair. If I'm bedridden, I'm going to find something productive I can do while I'm there. It's just the way a person thinks.
And how long after you ended up there did you make that decision in your soul?
I would say a month, because he wasn't there when I first got there.
Okay.
He had a farming accident or something, but then they brought him in. And here's what's really strange. The bed right next to me was a kid I grew up with.
Really?
Yeah, he was from my town in Madrid, Iowa. And it was one of my best friend's little brother.
Oh, wow.
And he was out of Sailorville and dove off the boat, and the water was only a foot deep, so snapped his neck. So I knew somebody and had someone to kind of hang out with that year while I was there. I tried, I had the thing that's a spoon or a fork, that leather strap, and that's my arms work so I could feed myself, couldn't walk, but the whole time I'm thinking, all right, can I get into computer programming? Can I, my brain was like, my brain still works, and that's what counts. And if my brain works, what can I do to be productive? And now I look at people like Chris Norton. Look at that guy, man. He flies around the country doing speeches, for all the football teams and everything. I mean, he is such an inspiration to me right now.
Chris Norton, I want to make sure I'm remembering correctly, broke his neck in a football game,
Yes.
college football,
Yes.
but made a decision, kind of like you did, made a decision. He was going to walk across the stage
That's
to
right. For
get
his
his college
graduation.
diploma.
Yep, that was his first book. His second, I mean, he wrote a book about it.
Okay.
The second book was he walked across or down the aisle when he married his wife. Again, they told him you'll never ever walk again, and you won't be able to function except in a wheelchair, So that, do you remember the day they did his little dog and pony show for all of us in the conference room?
Yeah.
I had tears going down my face because everything he was talking about, laying in that bed paralyzed and them taking a stick pin and poking your legs to see if you have feeling. And I went through all that, and they called it
like phantom
phantom. That's
pains?
the word I couldn't think of. Phantom pain. I had my doctors tell me that's phantom pain. That's when I first started getting my nerve endings clicking back on. And they'd stick me and I'd say, ow, that hurt. And they said, where? You couldn't feel that. And I said, yes, I could. Where was it? Somewhere on my right leg. Whereabouts? Well, I'm not sure. I think the lower part, but I can feel it. That's phantom pain. And I'm like, that bullshit, that's phantom pain. I felt it.
And hearing what you're saying, that the doctors were telling you, if that's what you're hearing from the quote-unquote experts, that's got to make it all the harder to think they're wrong. I'm right, goddammit. I'm going to walk again.
Right. But again, I was born with that type of brain. I was 80 pounds in high school and went out for football and baseball. And every time you're probably not big enough, you're not going to be able to do it. But my brain always said, watch me, So I've always been that guy that wants to prove everybody wrong on stuff like that. So it was kind of cool to, when they said you'll never walk, I've never worked so damn hard in my life. I was at Yonkers, like I said. The minute I wake up in the morning, I was down in the physical therapy room, and I would do that all day. I'd have to stop for lunch and stuff, but that's just what you got to do.
Early on, I remember you telling me the body finds a way.
Yes, yes, and it does. You're proof of that. My situation, well, I was at GBL. Remember, I lost the use of my left arm and I'd go in and use the bathroom and it would take me 20 minutes to button my pants, because try doing that stuff one-handed, or your shirt buttons. You can't do that stuff one-handed. So I learned. It took me 6 months to figure out how to do this stuff. I use this arm to trap it, and then I can do it one hand. But you have to learn that, and your body figures that stuff out. I was a golfer, and I would golf right-handed because I'm right-handed. And then I lost use of my left hand, so I had to train my brain how to golf left-handed.
Really?
And now I'm better left-handed than I ever was right-handed. I can still beat Gillette and Jimmy.
I still get hung up on the windmill at the last hole. That's the worst for me.
Yeah, that windmill's a killer.
Oh, well, I want to go back and kick this off a little more formally. Hello, all you brave, beautiful, long-hauling legends.
Have these been on?
For some of it.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Oop, surprise. Mateo here, and I am honored to introduce you to someone who I've talked about on the podcast before. The only person I know who can start a story, well, the first time I broke my neck. Everybody, this is my friend Ed.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, what I've been doing with this is talking to people who knew me before and stuck with me since. And you meet that description 10 times over and then some. And you also bring a perspective to this that is incredibly comforting. Uh, Being able to face an uncertain future, but then having somebody next to you saying, I went through something very similar and I know you can do it.
Right.
That means so much. And you've done so much for my attitude and resolve. And you have also been a source of inspiration for me.
Well, right back at you, because you're a huge inspiration to me right now. I've seen you do 100% turnaround in 2 years. I mean, if anyone would have the right to give up in your situation, it would have been you. And now you're walking and going to lunch with us, and you motivate the crap out of me right now.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Thank you. How did you find out I was sick?
Brian Gillette.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay.
well, I live in Florida 8 months a year, and I'm back in Iowa during the summer months. Brian and I have always been, I won't say best friends, but really close. Mm-hmm. And he called me one day, and it was during COVID, okay, about 2020, probably somewhere around there. And he had told me that you caught COVID. And at the time, I actually had COVID when he told me that.
Really?
And I was lucky enough, I did, at the beginning, they didn't have these shots to, none of that was preventative stuff. So when I had it the first time, I had a hard time breathing, and I got better within, say, 2 weeks. And I was just about back to normal. But then Brian called and said, hey, Mateo's not getting better. He's got what you call long hauler, which I knew nothing about it. So if you know me, I'm on my phone Googling, what does all this mean? And I researched it. And then Brian gave me the opportunity, let's take him to lunch, and I want you to meet with him. And thankfully, I listened to him and did that. And I'll be honest, at first it was a little heartbreaking, because you were always, when we worked together, you were always this, I'm not sure how to word it, but outgoing, friendly, outspoken, theatrical. That's the word I was trying to think. Theatrical
That's
type
a good
person.
one.
Yeah. So you were always that guy. And then I saw you and I thought, oh my goodness. And right away, it was a flashback to me when I was paralyzed, that this guy, it's going to be all attitude, all drive. Now, you, myself, a lot of people I know, will we ever be back to where we were? No. But you have to take what you have and work with that going forward. Everybody has to kind of figure out what their role in life is going to be given the situation, right? So like me, I have a hard time walking without pain. What do I do? So I don't go play fast pitch softball anymore. I don't run. I mean, it hurts to walk, let alone run. If I ever have a fire in my house, I'm going to be in trouble, because it'll take me a long time to get outside. But, my point is, you got to figure out in life what you want to be, with the given circumstance you're in. So I look at you, Mateo, I've seen, you couldn't even talk. I mean, it sounded like you were sucking on helium balloons. And really? Oh my God, it was like squeaky voice. And I looked at you and the convulsion things that you do, and I thought, oh my God, that's horrible. But how will he come out of it? It's not what happened, it's what you're going to do with it. And I look at now you're doing these podcasts to help other people. That's incredible. I mean, I think what you're doing is incredible for other people. And that's what we do, I think. What's the saying? If life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. I see you doing that right in front of me. And I'm very inspired by that.
I think early on, I realized that just because I wasn't that theatrical ball of energy everyone remembered, I'm still here.
Right.
And kiddo is still looking to me.
Well, of course.
And taking cues from that. So I found myself acutely aware of the example I was setting.
Exactly. That's what I admire, honestly. I just think that you could have curled up in a ball and laid in bed every day. And I mean, luckily you have a wonderful family. They help you, but you help them and you don't even know you're helping them.
Could you imagine how screwed I'd be without them?
I can. You'd probably, I don't know where you'd be.
Yeah.
Probably living with me.
Well, I guess it could be worse than
It can
that.
always be worse. There are people in our types of situations that have nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I can almost understand if those people say, I just can't do it, but when you have a family or you have close friends or you have a reason, those are the people that are going to work to get better. You got to have that reason, I think.
That's a fantastic point. Having a purpose.
Right.
It's likely not going to be the one you had yesterday, and probably won't be the one you have tomorrow. But today, what is your purpose? What do you have to prove today?
Right. I 100% agree with that.
Now, after you saw me that first time, when people later asked, "How's Mateo?" What did you tell them?
That happened a lot. All the GBL friends and all of our people that we knew together, they would all say, "What kind of condition is Mateo in?" My first thing is, go see him. Why aren't you at his house to see him? Because that's what friendship is. But what I would tell people is, he's not good, when I first saw you, but he's alive and his brain is working and he's going to get better. That's how I would describe you. Every single time I'd seen you. Now, remember, I was bouncing back and forth from Florida to here. Every time I saw you, it was so much better. I remember the first time I took you to physical therapy, and we parked in the parking spot closest to the door, and it still took 20 minutes to get you out of the car into the facility. And I thought, I don't know that I was ever that bad, but now look at you. You beat me out of the car into the restaurant half the time now. You're doing so much better, so it's all, again, I'm going to say this a million times, everything is attitude. But what I just told people is, please go see him.
That's huge, and thank you for that, because many did.
Right.
Something like this inherently has a way of isolating somebody, and the fact that your first response was go see him, that is coming from someone who's been there.
Right. Because I can remember those days, when you're laying there and you think, this was my life. Now I have no friends, no nothing, no job, no. And you sit there and it's so easy to feel sorry for yourself in that situation, but you can't allow it. You got to shove that out of your brain. And, it's kind of like when we worked together, we were both very good at what we did. Why? Because we had passion for it and because we wanted to be good at it. We wanted to be better than anyone else in our company at what we did. Correct?
Absolutely.
Life isn't any different than what we did at jobs. We want to be better than anyone given the circumstance.
A lot of things we're saying are really directed towards people with illnesses or injuries, but something I really realized about all these positive affirmations, it's not just us. It applies as easily to able-bodied as well.
100%. 100%. Because if you look at, say, the workforce, there's your superstars, your people that goes to the top. And then there's your laborers, your worker bees. Some of them have that drive that they want to work their way up in the company. Are they still doing your steroid shots?
Yeah. Every 3 months, get Botox.
Botox, that's what it was. I mean, I've watched you when you walk, how your legs kind of quiver. That happens to me all the time. It's these spasms and it's just part of it, and they hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know about yours, but mine hurt when I start spasm, the lower back down, they just start shaking and quivering. The hardest thing for me, and this is a me thing, not most people, being in public in front of people and having people stare, look at this guy, or, because I don't walk normal. I know I don't walk normal. But to watch other people, it always has kind of bothered me. But you just got to push it out and think it's the way it is. I'm walking. There's a lot of people not walking at all.
I remember our first lunch at a particular restaurant. Afterwards, Brian goes to get the car. You walk with me from the table to the doors on the little front foyer. And when I finally made it there, you said something that stuck with me. It struck me like a thunderbolt and it hasn't left. I got there. I was tired. I was frustrated. I think I was almost about to cry. And you said, you know what? There are a lot of people that would give anything to be able to do what you just did.
And that's exactly true.
Absolutely.
I've told you this story before, but when I was in Yonkers rehab learning how to walk again, they had a woman that had a car wreck, a young woman, and they had this wheel that they had her strapped onto this wheel, and they just turned her like 20 degrees every 15 minutes just so her blood flow would go through her body normally.
Oh my goodness.
And I was in that rehab every day trying to figure out how to get my legs to work. And I would watch this girl on it, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs every day. I mean, she had brain damage. She didn't know where she was, I don't think. But it was painful for her to get turned on this wheel. And every day when I was in pain and I just couldn't try to get my legs to work anymore, I would look up at her, or if I wasn't in the room, I was somewhere else, but I would think of her and I would think somebody is always worse than we are. think about that. The next time you have a headache and you're complaining, or the next time your back hurts or your shoulder hurts, think of her laying in bed 24/7 with bed sores and extreme pain and can't do one thing about it. I mean, a person in that situation, they can't, what is their end game? But to your point, there's always someone worse than we are.
Yeah. And thinking of it could be worse, thinking of examples of people, right in front of you who are worse, I almost said it's hard not to, but for me, it's hard not to come away from that experience feeling an immense sense of gratitude for everything I can and everything I have. And I don't think that's a universal response.
Correct. I agree 100%.
At Mayo, you told the story earlier of going to the bathroom with only one working arm. At Mayo, I remember for an appointment going to the bathroom, and it's a production. Getting in there, locking the chair, taking my gloves off, get the canes out.
Right.
Get up, try not to pee on my pants, get back, reverse everything, wash up, and leave. But this particular trip to the bathroom made me really appreciate this is hard.
Right.
It sucks, but I'm doing it on my own.
Right.
And that's another, how many people would give anything to be able to do that example?
100%. It seems like the people that have issues like us, we overcome them easier than people that have no issues. A lot of those people sit in their chair and wait for their phone to ring, or they might get a headache once a week and think that's a big deal.
I think a lot about identity and how my own perception of self changed when I got sick. When I started realizing I'm in a wheelchair in my dreams,
Yeah.
that was something. But being the optimist I am, I occasionally think about what life will look like post sickness.
Right.
Who will I be when I come out the other side of this?
Right.
I don't have an answer because I don't know health-wise. Am I going to be attached to these canes in this chair?
Right.
Or am I going to be running through the sprinkler?
Nobody knows.
But this idea of who I'll be afterwards sticks with me, and it makes me think about all the tiniest achievements that I will celebrate that most people wouldn't give two thoughts to.
That's exactly right. The best thing, Mateo, that ever happened to me when I was first paralyzed, I had Dr. DeGravels ran the rehabilitation center, and he said to me, I'm laying in bed and I felt myself feeling sorry for myself, and I'm going to be paralyzed my whole life and blah, blah, blah. He said, this is an opportunity. You don't see it right now, but you have an opportunity to, how do you want people to remember you? You know, when you're dead and gone, people are going to remember you. How do you want them to remember you?
Wow.
And that stuck with me. I thought,
Man.
you know, you can lay there and feel sorry for yourself and not do anything, or you can, it still might not make you any better, but you can work your butt off and try to get to that point. You know, even if it doesn't do any good, mentally it does, because you know you're trying. But that was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, having that doctor say that to me.
Way to go, Dr. DeGravels.
Right, right. Because again, I saw so many people just give up, and I thought, that's not going to be me.
It could be doctors, it could be friends, family, whoever. Some of the things we can get told that stick with us.
Right.
Like your comment of the body finds a way, or Dr. DeGravel's comment.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating how we can hear something and absolutely latch on, tie our horse and cart to it,
Right.
and see how far we can ride with it.
That's the beauty of what you're doing right now, Mateo. You're out here talking to people in the same situations. Some of the things you say are going to stick to these people, and they're going to hear these things, and they're going to go, well, if Mateo can do it, I can do it. Or they'll think, you know what, Mateo is right. I can lay here and give up, or I can work my butt off. You're doing that every one of these podcasts, and people are hearing it. I can promise you people are attaching to that, just like I did with Dr. DeGravels or with Chris Norton or with you. You know, these things attach to me just like the things you're saying to these people are attaching to them.
There are a lot of things that I can't do right now, and I know it.
Right.
But this is something I can do.
Right. Right.
So
that's what you do.
I
You
do
figure
it.
out what you can do and what you can't. There's so many things I used to do. I was so active and so athletic, and so I can't do those things anymore, and I'm okay with it. I come to grips with it. It bothered me for a long time. Come to grips with it. I don't need to do those things. What can I take that same passion that I had for those things, and what can I take that passion and do in another area? And that's all the insurance business. You and I were both in the insurance. For 40 years, I lived it. You know, that's all my passion went into my job and my family and my health, right? I don't have that job anymore. So now you have to find new passions. And I do, you know.
That's awesome. And not only for your time today, but all the time you've spent with me for the past 5 years. Thank you so much.
Well, here's what I really believe, and I believe this with every fiber. It might be next year, it might be the year after, but you're going to be walking and you're going to be talking normally. They'll figure this out. The longer we're here on Earth, the medical world is progressing. You know, they're like, in my case, hell, they might have new spinal column transplants, you know, that would help me. In your case, they'll come up with new things. You and I just hang out a couple more years and we're going to be back to normal. I truly believe that. And if not, that's okay. I'm happy in my own skin, and I think you're happy in your skin.
Well, with hair like this, it's hard not to be
I don't
happy.
know how you don't have a bad neck, because that hair must weigh about 50 pounds.
It keeps me warm in winter.
Make you a little warm in the summer.
Well, yeah, that's the trade. Well, Ed, again, thank you so much. Wow, talking about inspirational. Uh, so much that I hope somebody is hearing this and latching on to what you say, what I say, and if they stay in the fight a little bit longer because of it,
Right.
then that's a hell yeah from me.
I wish there were a way for your listeners to see what you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, compared to now. That would give them so much hope. But I'm sure none of that was recorded 3 years ago.
Only through my journals,
Yeah.
which I am reading all my old journals on.
Do you share them with your
Yeah.
listeners? I am sure your listeners appreciate you so much. I know I do.
Well, I thank you for that. And yeah, once I am walking without the canes, you and me, foot race, or
That would be exciting as hell. Can you imagine you and I racing right now? With a new world record of 25 minutes to make it up the stairs.
the 25, yeah, the one flight dash.
Well, it's good that we can both laugh about it.
Well, I think if I didn't laugh at the absurdity of long COVID, it would swallow me whole.
So easily. Yeah. What you have gone through is so amazing to me, because in my mind, it's 100% worse than what I've ever gone through. And you handle it so well. Those look really very painful.
Oh, that was fake, Ed. That was.
Some things never change.
Yeah. Hey, on the bright side, it's been 4.5 years since I've taken the garbage out.
Well, there is that. There is that. I don't have to walk the dogs anymore.
See? It's not all bad. All right. I'm going to wrap things up here. To all you amazing long haulers, this was a really wonderful conversation, and I'm so glad you were able to listen in. I love you all. I see you all. I would hug you all if I could. Strength and health. COVID is stupid.